Okay, good evening, everybody. Bonsoir tout le monde. We're going to get started now. Welcome to our council meeting of May 29th, 2023. Si je peux voir quelqu'un pour proposer l'ouverture de la séance, s'il vous plaît.
Oui, Monsieur le maire, je propose d'ouvrir la séance. Merci.
Merci, la conseillère Swan-Pennefather. Je peux voir l'appui, s'il vous plaît.
Oui, je l'appuie.
Merci, la conseillère Yulin. Tout en faveur, s'il vous plaît.
Oui.
Merci. Adoption de l'ordre du jour, s'il vous plaît.
Oui, Monsieur le maire, je propose d'adopter l'ordre du jour de la séance ordinaire de lundi 29 mai 2023, tel que présenté.
Merci, la conseillère Yulin. Je peux voir l'appui, s'il vous plaît.
Oui, je l'appuie.
Merci, la conseillère Fini. Tout en faveur.
Oui.
Merci. Approbation des procès-verbaux.
Oui, Monsieur le maire, je propose d'approuver le procès-verbaux des séances du conseil tenues aux dates suivantes. Séance ordinaire le 24 avril 2023, séance spéciale le 27 avril 2023, séance spéciale du 8 mai 2023 et séance spéciale du 11 mai 2023.
Merci, la conseillère Fini. Je peux voir l'appui, s'il vous plaît.
Oui, je l'appuie.
Merci, la conseillère Torres. Tout en faveur, s'il vous plaît.
Oui.
Merci. On va passer tout de suite au rapport du maire. We're going to move right on to the report of the mayor. Good evening, everyone. Bonsoir à tous. Welcome to this regular council meeting. Bienvenue à notre réunion régulière du conseil. We will have a vote on the amended loan bylaw on June 18th from 10 a.m. till 8 p.m. at the Legion Rink. There will be an advance poll on June 11th from 12 noon until 8 p.m. also at the Legion Rink. To make an application for entry, striking off, or correction, you must appear before the Board of Revisions. Unfortunately, there was a mistake in the dates and times that were published in an article on page 5 of this weekend's The Informer. The application must be made before the revisers at Town Hall, here 50 Westminster South, Montreal-West, on Tuesday, May 30th from 2:30 to 5:30 and from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m., and on Wednesday, May 31st from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Le 18 juin, de 10h à 20h, à la patinoire de la Legion, nous procéderons à un vote sur le règlement d'empreinte modifié. Il y aura un vote par anticipation le 11 juin de midi à 20h, également à la patinoire de la Legion. Pour faire une demande d'inscription, de radiation ou de correction, vous devrez vous présenter devant la commission de révision. Malheureusement, une erreur s'est glissée dans les dates et l'heure publiées dans l'article à la page 3 de The Informer qui est sorti ce week-end. La demande doit être faite devant les réviseurs à l'hôtel de ville, ici, 50 Westminster Sud, aux dates suivantes. Le 30 mai, de 14h30 à 17h30 et de 19h à 22h. Et mercredi, le 31 mai, de 10h à 13h. The question on the ballot will be the following. Do you approve bylaw number 2023-003, authorizing an additional loan of $6,686,024 to complete financing of the construction of a new sports and recreation center already approved by bylaw number 2023-001 for a loan of $27,318,686? Though the referendum will be officially about the loan bylaw, please rest assured that you will be voting on the project as a whole. Bien que le référendum porte officiellement sur le règlement relatif à l'empreinte, soyez assurés que vous voterez sur le projet dans son ensemble. Based on the questions we have received tonight, and I'm continually answering as I'm talking to our residents, I want to restate them again now. En fonction des questions que nous avons reçues ce soir et auxquelles je réponds continuellement en discutant avec nos résidents, je souhaite les réaffirmer maintenant. Il n'existe pas une plan B élaborée. Déposer une plan B impliquerait de débourser de l'argent pour faire réaliser les plans architecturaux et des devis. Cela n'a aucun sens d'avoir dépensé cet argent à l'avance. There is no plan B already developed. Having a plan B would mean having spent money to have architectural plans and the devis drawn up. It made zero sense to have spent that money ahead of time. A different plan without a rink would require a reapproval from the government. There's not simple negotiation to be had. We've had it stated to us very clearly that removing the ice surface is considered a major change and would require reapproval. So no, it's far from a fait accompli that the grant would still be available to us. Un plan différent, sans patinoire, nécessiterait une nouvelle approbation du gouvernement. Il ne s'agit pas d'une simple négociation. On nous a dit très clairement que l'élimination de la surface de glace était considérée comme un changement majeur et qu'elle nécessiterait une approbation. Donc, non, il est loin d'être un fait accompli que la subvention serait toujours disponible pour nous. Les 3% que nous avons utilisés pour calculer les coûts du prêt sont basés sur les valeurs historiques. Personne ne peut prévoir les coûts futurs, mais historiquement, ces prêts ont été en moyenne de 3%. Le gouvernement était également à l'aise avec ce chiffre puisqu'il avait déjà approuvé notre règlement de prêt initial à 3%. The 3% that we used to calculate the cost of the loan are based on historical values. No one can foresee what future costs are, but historically these loans have averaged 3%. The government was also comfortable with that number as they had already approved our original loan bylaw at 3%. We will hire a project manager who has the responsibility to ensure the project comes in on budget. Though there exists the possibility of some unforeseen expenses, they are also already included in our budget figures. Nous engagerons un gestionnaire de projet qui sera chargé de veiller à ce que le projet respecte le budget. Bien qu'il existe une possibilité des dépenses imprévues, celles-ci sont déjà incluses dans notre budget. Les coûts d'exploitation augmenteront sans aucun doute, mais les revenus que nous générons aussi. Au final, l'investissement que nous ferons dans les services récréatifs offerts dans les nouveaux centres devait être similaire à celui que nous faisons actuellement. The operation costs will undoubtedly increase, but so will the revenues that we generate. In the end, the investment that we will make in our recreational services offered in the new center should be similar to the investments we currently make. All of these questions are answered in the FAQs on our website, and I encourage you to read them and get the straight answers. Toutes ces questions sont traitées dans les FAQ de notre site web, et je vous encourage à les lire et à obtenir des réponses claires. So now it's clearly in your hands, folks. On June 18th or on June 11th, you must get out and vote. There's absolutely zero room for second-guessing the results of the vote. The majority of votes cast will determine a significant future of the town. A no vote means will mean one of two things. We encounter significant costs to close our existing arena or merely slap a fresh coat of paint on our problem and continue with non-accessible recreation programs. Or two, we spend significant money to develop a different project and then get in line again to seek grants from the government, all without the help of any donations. And to be clear, the revenue generator is the rink. Nobody's spending money to rent gymnasium spaces. So let's not forget the recreation deficit will be bigger. Maintenant, c'est clairement entre vos mains. Le 18 ou le 11 juin, vous devez aller voter. Il n'est absolument aucune marge de manœuvre pour remettre en question les résultats du vote. La majorité des voix exprimées déterminera l'avenir de notre ville. Un vote négatif signifie que nous ferons une des deux choses suivantes. On va faire face à des coûts importants pour fermer notre arène existante ou simplement appliquer une nouvelle couche de peinture sur notre problème et continuer avec les programmes de loisirs non accessibles. Ou deux, nous dépensons beaucoup d'argent pour développer un projet différent, puis nous devons à nouveau faire le cul pour obtenir des subventions du gouvernement. Le tout sans l'aide d'aucun don. Et pour être clair, le générateur des revenus est une patinoire. Personne ne loue les salles de gymnase. Nous n'oublions donc pas que le déficit des loisirs sera plus important. Un vote oui indique clairement que nous sommes prêts, en tant que ville, à aller à l'avant, à investir dans notre communauté, à investir dans nos infrastructures, investir dans notre jeunesse, à investir dans la création d'emplois saisonniers et investir dans notre futur. Ne laissons pas passer cette occasion, car nous regarderons en arrière alors que des autres municipalités auront le courage d'aller en avant. A yes vote clearly states that we are ready as a town to move forward, invest in our community, invest in our infrastructure, invest in our youth, invest in our seasonal job creation, and invest in our future. Don't let this opportunity pass us by because we'll be looking backwards as other municipalities have the courage to move forward. Please continue to stay safe, stay vigilant, and stay healthy. Thank you. On va passer tout de suite au rapport des conseillers. On commence par le siège numéro 1. We're going to the councillors' reports. Reporting from seat number 1, matters pertaining to public security. Councillor Lauren Small-Pennefather.
Merci, Monsieur le maire. Bonsoir à tous. Merci de bienvenue ce soir. Just to start off, I just want to warmly welcome our new PSO, Public Security Officer, Andre, who's here at the back of the room. That means our complement of PSO officers is now complete. Donc notre plan de dotation est maintenant complète avec notre nouveau officier de sécurité publique. And we just also wanted to mention that Clifford, as you know, who had suffered a major illness while abroad, is now improving. So we're very pleased that he is on the mend. And we continue to think of Clifford and his family. Line painting has begun. The contractor confirmed that they will begin on last Thursday. Therefore, everything should be done by mid-June, provided the weather cooperates, and we'll be following up to make sure that there are any adjustments that are necessary. Donc, on avait commencé de faire la peinture des lignes pour s'assurer la sécurité publique. Ça a commencé jeudi passé, puis on va s'assurer c'est de nos standards. We were also busy due to numerous vehicles not respecting street sweeping restrictions, despite the fact that we've issued warnings for the first 2 weeks in April. So we just want to make sure that people continue to follow any kind of signs and for street sweeping. And the PSOs are still checking with construction permits this month. We want to make sure people are applying for permits pour la construction. Donc, on aimerait s'assurer que tout le monde a leur permis pour faire la construction dans la ville. And we are also preparing already for the Canada Day Parade, which will be coming up in July. That's always something people are really pleased to be part of in the community. As well, we wanted to just mention that, as you know, last week was the SPVM week. Donc, la semaine passée, c'était la semaine de SPVM avec la Station 9. Malheureusement, on avait seulement 3 personnes qui s'est présentées pour la semaine de SPVM. Donc, en espérant pour le prochain événement avec la SPVM, aussi avec le cadastre numéro d'incendie juste à côté sur Westminster Nord, que nous aurons d'autres personnes qui vont se présenter le 6 juin. So we will be having another community night on the 6th of June where we will be having our local firefighters as well as Station 9 participating. We did have SPVM week that took place last week. We only had 3 individuals that presented themselves, so we're hoping that more people will be involved when we have our police service that are available as well as fire staff as well. To raise any potential concerns that they have with regards to security in the community. And as you know, we have our bylaw officers, but it's also very important in terms of the police that enforce the criminal and vehicular codes for the town. So that is my report for this evening. Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le maire. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Small-Pennefather. We're moving now on to a report from seat number 2. Seat number 2 is Elizabeth Udling, reporting on matters related to public works and the environment.
Sure, thanks very much. Good evening, bonsoir everyone. So the Public Works Department was involved in a significant infrastructure repair on Sherbrooke and Westminster earlier this month. A 100-year-old sewer pipe collapsed due to another pipe bursting nearby, but the town and its contractors were able to fix the multiple issues within a few days. In order to operate with an eye on sustainability, like many other municipalities, Mo West is now cutting the grass in public green spaces once every 2 weeks as opposed to weekly. This new policy started at the beginning of May and to date has been well received. We save on fuel, manpower, machinery maintenance, and more limited mowing actually is better for the grass and the biodiversity that it supports. Throughout the month of May, Public Works made many street and sidewalk asphalt repairs and fixed damaged catch basins and manholes. This will continue through the summer. Finally, the public street tree planting is expected to begin next week, and the tree giveaway trees will be delivered shortly. In the Environment portfolio, the Department and the Environmental Action Committee have been working on a number of initiatives and events. Our Zero Waste Challenge is nearing its end. With 27 families participating, households have worked in teams to decrease the waste they send to landfill. This is especially important when the weather is warming and we're entertaining more and hosting more gatherings. On April 30th, the EAC sponsored a biodiversity event on rewilding your yard. And there was standing room only here in this room. And so tonight, by popular demand, they're hosting actually a part two of this session at the community center. Actually, I believe it started at 7, so maybe some of you are coming from there to be here. Also this month, the EAC held a very successful clothing swap at the town hall to promote the circular economy. And last week, the committee held an info session on electric vehicles with expert Daniel Breton. Coming up this Saturday, June 3rd, we're organizing a town-wide garage sale with a musical twist. So far, we have 52 households holding sales and 12 musical acts performing from their porches or driveways. It's our version of Porch Fest. And you can also find an interactive map of all the sales and the shows on the town website. Right on the heels of that, on Monday, June 5th, we've got a guest speaker on recycling and composting to help us all get it right, because I know that can be very confusing. With all of this, we're hoping to provide a lot of creative ways residents can reduce waste they send to landfill in preparation for the proposed garbage bylaw amendment that's coming later this summer. Okay. Et finalement, le service de communication a préparé les différentes communications relatives au nouveau centre sportif et récréatif et a collaboré avec les autres services sur la préparation des brochures, d'avis et des événements. That's it for my report. I'll be happy to answer your questions at question period. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Yulin. Reporting from seat number 3 on matters pertaining to finance, recreation, and topics related to the status of an age-friendly municipality, Councillor Colleen Feeney.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Bonsoir. Good evening, everybody. So I'll start off by talking about the finance portfolio. The second installment of the property tax was due May 25th, and to date, 91% of the 2023 property taxes have been fully paid. And the 2022 pension plan financial statements are ongoing. The draft will be submitted to the pension committee on June 15th. And all town offices will be closed on Monday, June 26th and Monday, July 3rd. Tous les bureaux de la ville seront fermés le lundi 26 juin et le lundi 3 juillet. Later in the meeting, you'll see that we'll pass a resolution on the disbursements for the month. This month, they totaled $669,849. And I always like to give residents an idea where their money has gone this past month. So, you'll see it from there. So as usual, a large portion of it is deductions at source and benefits and utilities. So that amounted to about 35% of it. After that, or a little bit more than that actually, Public Works had a lot of major expenses. Believe it or not, they're still paying for snow removal. Some late bills coming in, so that was about $39,000. There was garbage, which is garbage recycling and compost, $73,000. There was a lot of outside contract work done this past month, and that included water breaks, the work that Councillor Yulin was also talking about, conduit inspection, plumbing, electrical, and street lighting. So that was a major expenditure. And even the vehicles, there was with vehicle registration coming up and repairs, etc. There was about $17,000 spent on vehicles. And in the administration, the only notable expense really was the audit and the pension fund management, $20,000 in fees, $14,000 in public notices that has been sent out, a lot of it relating to the referendum and to the vote, etc. In the project, recreation center project, an additional $59,000 was spent for the architect's work. So that was it, $669,000 this past month. It's about average. I'll move on now to recreation. Well, it's starting to be summer, so we're starting to get on, not quite, but we're getting into our summer events, which is very often Tuesdays in the park, which are very successful. So I encourage you all to come out and take a look at them. The first one is going to be Tuesday, June the 6th, and that's called Community Night and Art in the Park. And the event will be held in Davies Park from 6 to 8 p.m. There will be live music with Mikael and Shawnee, and food for sale by Randy's Bistro. We actually rotate a lot of our Westminster shops there for that. So on that first Tuesday will be Randy's Bistro, and as Councillor Small Pennyfather mentioned, there will be the fire department and the SPVM are going to be there, as well as local groups and artisans who will be there to share their information and art with the community. So please bring a chair and blanket and join us for that. Le premier événement estival aura lieu le mardi 6 juin, soirée communautaire et art dans le parc. L'événement aura lieu dans le parc Davies de 18h à 20h. Other upcoming events in the month of June are going to be Tuesday the 13th, Geek Night, where you can meet your councillors. That's also in Davies Park, and it'll be food sponsored by Burger de Ville. On Friday, June the 23rd, we have the Fête Nationale du Québec at 6 p.m. in Davies Park with music and activity for all ages. And of course, on Saturday, July 1st, Canada Day in Strathern Park at 5 p.m. There will be a big barbecue, inflatables, activities. The parade will be at 3:30 p.m. So that's it for the June activities, although I'll mention two that are happening in July because you're going to have to register for them ahead of time. And first one is on Tuesday, July 11th, there'll be the Youth Duathlon at Hodson's Field, followed by a barbecue and swim party, and that you have to register in advance. As well, on Tuesday, July 18th, it's called The Best Beats in Town, and it's musicians, and they also have to register ahead of time. Le mardi 11 juillet, nous organiserons un duathlon pour les jeunes sur le terrain Hudson avec un barbecue et une fête. Puis le mardi le 18 juillet, les Best Beats in Town aura lieu. Et pour ces deux événements, les familles et les musiciens doivent s'inscrire sur Amelia. And please always check the e-bulletin website and Facebook for information and updates on all the events and programs. At the Community Center, the Children's Summer registration is open. There is still some space left in some of the programs. Summer adult fitness classes are also available. Please register on Amelia. Most summer programs start on June the 15th. The pool. Okay, a leak in the drain system. Speaking about what it would cost to repair the pool, we keep having these, but there was a leak in the drain system again this year. It was found and it was repaired, and just in time to fill the pool and get it ready for the season opening. And I got late breaking news today that due to the expectation of very hot weather coming up, we're ready for our pool operations and staff to open up starting May 31st, June 1st, and June the 2nd from 4 to 8:30 p.m. exceptionally to allow people to cool off. The regular hours will start on June the 4th. Pool registration has been underway, and we started off with great registration. A number of the programs, as well as many of the lessons, are already full. Classes that offer a path to lifeguard this summer will be free to register for residents, as the Life Saving Society offers a grant to cover all registration fees for this season. So interesting to note if that is something of interest to you. And this includes Bronze Star, Medallion, and Cross classes. The lifeguards have had their training, they had their training the weekend of May 27th to 28th. What are we? No, okay, they just added. Les nouvelles classes de cet été comprennent des cours de natation pour adultes le soir et des cours pour parents et enfants le matin et le week-end. Le programme complet des cours de natation est disponible dès maintenant sur le site web de la ville. The full swim schedule and programs is available on the town website now. Day camp. Day camp begins in a month, and we already have over 260 kids registered, so we're on pace to have a great summer. The staff has been hired, and the managers begin work on June the 3rd, preparing for a fun and safe summer for campers. Space remains in select age groups for particular weeks and weekly registration spots, and those ones will be opening up on June the 2nd for registration. On now to seniors. The 50 Plus Club has been very busy. At the end of May and June, the group has had a brunch, a tea party, a theater trip to Hudson, and a lecture on Elvis. The next event is the barbecue and a trip to Upper Canada Playhouse. And the Seniors Advisory Committee will be meeting actually this week to begin work on holding a consultation in the fall. So that's my report for right now. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Feeney. And reporting from seat number 4 on matters pertaining to urban planning, Councillor Maria Torres.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening and bonsoir à tous. In the last month, the Urban Planning Department issued 45 permits. These were given as usual for construction of new fences, decks, porches, walkways. 9 permits were given for public intervention and 9 for renovation. Only 1 notice was sent, and that was for non-conforming work. During the above-mentioned period, the Planning Advisory Committee, PAC, met twice and reviewed a total of 27 files. The next PAC meeting will be held on June 7th and on the 21st. The deadline to submit complete files to PAC is 2 weeks prior to the meetings. Les prochaines réunions du Comité consultatif d'urbanisme aura lieu le 7 et le 21 juin. Les dates limites pour soumettre les dossiers complets au CCU sont 2 semaines avant les réunions. On May 11th, the town held a public consultation meeting concerning amendments to the bylaw dealing with fences and privacy screens. There were 3 basic modifications. The first one was the composite material having a percentage of recycled wood of at least 50% is now an authorized material for fences. Secondly, for fences that are visible from the street and made out of boards, either vertically or horizontally, they have to have at least 1 inch separation between the boards. And last, it introduced the notion of a privacy screen, its maximum height, location within the property, and allowed materials. So if you are building a fence this summer, please contact the Urban Planning Department for permit, and you will find all the necessary information. Another consultation meeting was held, this time was by Hydro-Quebec. As some of you might remember, in 2019, Hydro-Quebec presented the project to rebuild the transmission line between Ville, La Salle, and Ville-Saint-Laurent, including the line's towers in Montréal-Ouest. During this last consultation, we were informed that they will move forward with the town's recommendations. We had had a committee of residents, and we submitted a list of recommendations, and they are going to respect it. And these recommendations concern the public usage of the green areas, reforestation, the leases of the residents who are renting right now the land, etc. The only change made to the project is that they were supposed to start working as in 2025, 2024, and now our part of town, the job is going to be carried out. The job is going to be carried out in 2033. So a few more changes might happen in the next 10 years, but it is coming. It is much necessary, and it is coming. C'est tout pour moi aujourd'hui. Si vous avez des questions ou des commentaires, n'hésitez pas de me contacter. If you have any questions or commentaries, please do not hesitate to contact me. Merci à tous.
Thank you very much, Councillor Torres. Councillor Small-Pennefather wanted to add something to her report.
Apologies, but I just received a note just to make a mention. I think it is important as we're moving into the summer season. We want to encourage our kids to go out and play, and that means street hockey, and that means basketball on the street as well. Just a reminder to please ensure that you return your hockey nets and your basketball nets at the end of the day on your property. Do not leave them on sidewalks. Do not leave them in the middle of the street. Do not leave them blocking your neighbor's driveway. Just make sure that it's safe for everybody and there aren't any obstructions. Donc, juste pour s'assurer que tous les filets de basket et de hockey seront retournés sur votre terrain privé après que vous jouez dehors pour les 2 sports. Merci.
Thank you very much, Councillor Small-Pennefather. So we're going to move on to the question period, folks. So we're going to start with the public question period, and we're going to move on to those submitted online. At our first question period, we'll answer questions from the floor for a maximum of 25 minutes. We will limit it to 2 questions per person. A short preamble, your first question, and a follow-up question if you want. And I want to remind you that it's a question period, not a debate period. After questions from the floor, we'll answer questions from residents that had been submitted online until 2 p.m. today. Same rule applies, 25 minutes total, 2 questions per person maximum. In the second question period, we'll take questions pertaining only to the agenda submitted to our website. If I see there's some people that submitted questions online that happen to be in the room today, so if you prefer to have your question, your online question, fine. If you prefer to ask your question live, then I won't adjust your question online. Okay, so it's your choice. All right, so if there's anybody that wants to ask, please step up to the microphone and go ahead from there.
Bob Soden, 26 Easton. I just received from the Montreal-West Citizens Group about 2 weeks ago the plans that actually showed the new arena and its arrangement with Bedbrook, and it was the first time that I learned anyway that the arena is now turned 90 degrees from what it is today. Have I misinterpreted it that
No, it's been turned 90 degrees, Mr. Soden.
Right, but that's the first I knew of it. I don't know if
It's been like
everybody
that.
else
It's been like that since the beginning.
Right, but does the town know that? Certainly, any plans that I saw before just showed the arena, but didn't show its orientation. I didn't see a north arrow or...
Right from the beginning, it's been like that, and all our plans have always shown it that way.
Right, but just to, it's not a debate, but I don't think most people knew, the people that I've spoken to had no idea that it was turned that way, and it takes up all of Hodgson Field, or most of it. There's a little bit at one end, and I can't tell what those little courts are. They're not soccer fields.
They are soccer fields, yes. That's in the space that's left over. They can accommodate 2 soccer fields.
I'm surprised by the view of it. That's question number 1. Question number 2 is, or really just a kind of a statement, is the fact that there's no plan B in this procedure seems to me, by that very fact, it's that there was never really any consultation with the public about what they wanted to do, because there was no choice. It's only plan A. For a choice, you'd have to have a plan B.
So the idea, though, to develop a plan B, Mr. Soden, would have required plans and everything like that. So when we did our initial consultations, yes, we made a choice to go with plan A. So, but there were initial consultations and people expressed opinions. We've had a lot of people express opinions. I wish it had a gymnasium. This plan does have a gymnasium in it. So
Right,
yes,
that's
there was
correct.
consultations,
Yeah.
but we can't fully develop a plan B because that requires money. As I said before in my report, it requires a lot of money to develop, and a plan B would mean having to go back to the government to make another request.
It does seem like it's like a gun to the head of the citizens. You have this choice and only this choice.
Well, like I said, there were consultations that were done ahead, Mr. Soden. Thank you for your question.
All right.
Hi there. Joanna Dewey, 232 Percival. So the referendum on the rec center is going to be a significant moment for the town. I'm sure we all agree. And as in all votes, it's important to ensure full transparency. To this end, I was wondering whether the Montreal-West Citizens Group can have a representative at the polling stations and at the vote count, and if so, how do we arrange it?
Okay, so as we put it out already once in the e-bulletin, Ms. Dewey. So there's already somebody that stepped up that wants to be the head of the yes campaign. So I suggest that whoever wants to be the head of the no campaign do the same thing. Whether that's somebody from your group or somebody else, first come, first serve. There'll be one head of the yes campaign and one head of the no campaign. And then they'll meet with Maître Gilbert to lay out all the ground rules so that everybody is aware of all the ground rules. Like there's rules like, you're not allowed to be doing campaigning the day of. There's all these rules like that.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure everybody's on the same page, to meet at the same time, to hear everything at the same time. So if whoever it is, whoever the first one to step up is, step up, give your name to Maître Gilbert to be the head of the no campaign, as it were, or the representative of the no campaign.
Okay.
And then they can actually what's the word? Give a procuration, to have, give a proxy, that's it, to have somebody be at the polling station.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. I forgot the word in English, I'm sorry, Claude.
Paul Kenton, 70 Brock North. I disagree with the mayor. I think that if we vote no, we will not have the opportunity pass us by. All the town has to do is compromise. But there is the Canadians Bleu Ballon et Bouge initiative where they put up outdoor refrigerated ice pads for $2 million. For us, that would cost us $3 million. But we can do it. I think the town mischaracterizes the no side all the time. We are interested in the future for everybody. We want a new pool. We want a super rec center. We can have something half the size. I've costed it out for $23 million with only $200,000 of donations. I even had Franco Forlini sharing a couple of glasses of wine with him on my deck yesterday. He's a well-known advocate for the yes size. We're best buddies now. He looked over the numbers. He says, yes, the numbers look great. It can be done. Why will the town not consider a compromise? We can start from scratch. For $23 million, we get a $105 tax increase.
Mr. Kenton, if there is a no vote, we will be starting from scratch, and then all the options are on the table.
We will have the opportunity with the ice to resurrect this grant. With the ice in there, didn't say it had to be indoors.
Do you have a second question, Mr. Kenton?
Would you comment on that? No.
I don't
Okay.
agree with you. Like, the project right now states very clearly that there will be an indoor ice surface, not an outdoor surface, even if it's a refrigerated one.
Well, ice
Even
is
if it's a
ice.
refrigerated one. It will be an indoor surface, and any change to that requires reapproval.
Yeah, have a good time. Anyhow, second question. When I was reading the Informer, the yellow pages, as I always do, I was reading Councillor Feeney's blurb, and like the first speaker here, she says there were many consultations. Well, I think the town is confusing information sessions and consultations. Since there was never any choice to begin with, what's the consultation? We had back in 2017. The 2017 survey only dealt, or consultation or information session, only dealt with the maximum tax increase, period. In 2022, we had 2 focus groups, a third one with all other parties, and we had an online survey. But everything that was presented there was a fait accompli. Yes, there was one minor change to the pool, but we never had a choice. So let's please not call it consultations. Let's call it information sessions. Surely you agree, Councillor Feeney.
No, I don't actually, because that was that initial survey that went out to all houses was a consultation. If that had come back less than 50%, we would not have proceeded. That was a consultation, and people's votes went in that way. Yes, did it have that? Did it have the rink in it? It did. That was the whole. This all sprang out of the fact that our arena was in terrible state of disrepair.
Everybody agrees with
And
that.
way back then, even in 2015, it was going to cost $7.5 million just to bring it to the regular state, which probably in today's term would be about $13 million.
Nobody
So we were
disagrees.
going, as we do, to try to repair our infrastructure and move forward. So we promised, we sent to the people, are you in favor? Are we going to go ahead with this, et cetera, and only because there was over 50% did we proceed. We proceeded then with that because we were working on improving and bettering our infrastructure that we had, not getting rid of it. It never was a conversation then to get rid of something we already had, that we were going to start investing more to lose a service, a major service in the town. So that was number one, and that was a consultation. We then went out again, as we had mentioned, after and I mentioned it, and it's not a consultation, but every single person on council here said that they were going to proceed with the recreation center. Every one of us, in our promises and our mandates, people, not politicians for not following through their promises, we all promised. It was part of all our mandates. Others stood forward who didn't have that, and they did not get elected. So we got elected. Then after we got elected, only then did we move forward and hire an architect to work out our vision of the new project. That was shifted many times, and then we went with that vision to the people, and again we made a couple of changes. In fact, and even based on the first consultation, we actually put a gymnasium in, and I think you were one of the ones advocating for that. So the people have been consulted. There has been changes made because of it, and and we have fulfilled our promises, and that it's up to you now. I mean,
Well,
that's
when
it.
there's no choice, there's no consultation.
Well,
you
the
for-
choice, your choice is coming up.
Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Demetrius Malopoulos. I live at 228 Brock North. I'm going to change the subject for probably one speaker or two. You can't hear me? Is that better? Yeah. Okay. Demetrius Malopoulos. Yeah, I live at 228 Brock North. I'll start off with a positive. When I first came to Montreal-West 6 years ago, I have a hearing impaired child, and I asked for the city to put some hearing impaired signs on my street. It was done right away. The one thing that didn't happen 6 years later, and I wrote to Public Works about 2 weeks ago, and I didn't get a response, is about the streets. So I'd just like to take the time to read the question, because it's essentially, I have about 100 letters to put my question in, so I think I put it succinctly online. So we're kind of killing two birds with one stone.
You want me to read the question
Yeah,
for you?
go ahead.
Yeah, sure. Hang on a second, okay? The sidewalks and road on Brock Street North are deplorable. Many residents have written to Public Works with no answer. While the city is contemplating a large infrastructure project for facilities, I would like to know when the city will repave Brock North and the sidewalks from Curzon to Parkside, rather than patching along with augmenting the lighting fixtures similar to the rest of the street. Moreover, Brock is being used to bypass Westminster and as an access to NDG. When will speed be addressed? Larger speed bumps, digital speed indicators, and use of street between certain hours. That was the question, Mr. Monopolis?
Yes, that was the question.
So I'm going to ask Councillor Yulin to answer the first part, and then I'm going to turn it over to Councillor Lauren Smallpenny.
And I also have a couple of my other neighbors here with me.
And in fact, and if it's okay with you, I'm going to add on the same question, almost like verbatim, was asked by Mr. Alan Baldry, okay, at 118 Brock
Yeah,
North.
and here's,
Okay. Okay. You'll come up, Mr. Baldry, okay?
perfect.
Go ahead, Elizabeth.
So I'll talk about the infrastructure part of this. When we do infrastructure projects, we can only afford to do them when we get a grant from the government, and they pay a good portion of that. And the grants are allotted here in Quebec based on the underground infrastructure. They're not based on, unfortunately, the paving and the sidewalks. And so while Brock North looks like hell, nobody can disagree with that. On the top, underneath, it's not doing too badly with the sewer system and water system.
Right, but on one side, we're talking about safety, right? And people are falling. People are, like, it's just terrible.
No,
Like,
I
there's
understand, and I
cement
don't.
sticking out of the ground.
Mr. Menelopoulos, later answer.
I don't disagree with you. Anybody who's walked on that street can't disagree with that. It is terrible. And we're doing our best to do patches. If there's any other solution we can find to improve the infrastructure in that area without having to dig up the whole street, we'll look into it. But right now, we don't have the means to do the street without the government portion.
So there's no timeline, no date, nothing you can do, other than something having to go badly underneath. That will only make the...
That's the only thing that will move the government, unfortunately. They give their grants based on,
So it's
primarily based on what's under the street.
so who do we have to write to if it's causing safety issues also? Is it
So the
yourselves?
safety,
Is it
the
government?
safety
Is it-
issues I'll pass to Lauren, Pennyfather, because you've got good points to make there too.
People are falling.
I
It's
understand, and
elderly people.
Yeah, fair enough.
Thank you for your question, Mr. Monopolis. And you know, I live on Ballantyne North. I often see you walk with your son around the block. And I do know, because I walk my dogs down Brock North, and I'm very aware that of the situation of the sidewalks. And like I said, council is looking to see if there's anything that we can do, and we're going to further discuss it. In terms of some of the questions you raised with regards to speeding, we do have a community safety committee, and we also have our PSOs here. We do work with the SPVM as well. We have Dopplers that we can put up. So in that section, if you just identify for me again, I'll read it in your question.
Curzon
You're at
through
Curzon,
Parkside.
Curzon through Parkside. We can put up a Doppler and see if it merits adding, like looking at the speed bumps, looking at the speed, putting it against the baseline as well of what's been developed in terms of Montreal-West and other municipalities around town as well, and then we can get back to you.
Okay.
So we will do that. We'll add that to our list as well. That we'll look at speeding in that particular section of Brock.
Okay, and what's your time frame usually to get back to?
The next meeting is in June. The Doppler, I have to get back to you on how long that takes. I think it's a couple of weeks or maybe a week that they put up the Doppler, and then we're able to get the baseline information back, and then I can communicate with you. So give me a month-ish.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you very much.
Okay,
Mr.
thank
Manalopoulos,
you.
Mr. Adams, do you mind if I get the next gentleman, because it's the same subject? Go ahead, Mr. Baldry.
I'd just like to, so it's Alan Baldry from 118 Block. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to reinforce what Dimitri has been saying. One of the things that happened during the winter was a snowplow took out at least half of the speed bump outside 220 Brock. That has never been repaired. My son lives at 220 Brock. We were leaving there, going to our car to get in, and my wife tripped and fell. She sprained her wrist, she bruised her chest, her knee, ripped her coat. I wrote to the council, never ever received a reply. I would appreciate knowing when something's going to be done about that. The sidewalk also, as Dimitri said, outside 220 Brock, has been wrecked several times. They repair it with a bit of tarmac, and that gets ripped out again by an next snowplow. So basically, Brock between Curzon and Parkside is dangerous.
So
It's not a question of worrying about repairing the drains. Maybe we could drop a grenade down just to sort of encourage them. But I mean, I'm 74 years old, my wife's 73, so you call me a senior, I call myself an old fart. But the point is that, you know, you've written a policy about taking care of seniors. I don't see you taking care of us at all.
Can I ask, sir, when you mentioned that you,
There's no need to call me sir, I haven't been knighted yet.
when you mentioned you wrote to council,
Yeah.
how did you do that through the website?
Yeah, through the website,
Okay, so
at least 2 months ago.
okay.
There's never ever a
No,
response.
I appreciate that, and I'm going to look
I think
into
I
it
called
because,
absolutely bloody appalling.
well, somebody should have responded to you, that's
well,
for sure.
they haven't.
No, I
mean,
understand.
The thing's still not been repaired. My wife was rough for a good 3 weeks afterwards,
Mm-hmm.
and no action's been taken at all. And
Okay.
yet, as Dimitri said, I mean, there've been a number of other people who've fallen on Brock. One guy lost teeth as a result of falling there, having caught his foot in one of the holes there. They come along and do potholes, but they don't do all the potholes. So it's an absolute disaster.
Okay, I
So
appreciate
never
it.
mind the drains, get the bloody thing repaved.
just
Okay.
so everybody knows.
Is the
it's-
message understood?
So everybody knows it's not a regular street where we can just fix the sidewalk. Some brainiac in a previous council decided that it was okay to build a road and build a sidewalk on top of it. So you can't just change the road because the road runs under the sidewalk. So it's not so obvious, and that's why you have those lips at the beginning of your driveways that are always crumbling, because they're not full-length sidewalks that go all the way down. Now when we make sidewalks, we do it the right way. We go make sidewalks all the way down to the foundation, and we build a road in the middle. And that's what allows that sustainability. That's what allows a road to last 35, 40 years. Some brainiac decided back then that that's not how they were going to do Brock. That's not how they did Ballantyne. And then it's not how, no, our street's not like that. Brock and Ballantyne were like that. I think Strathern. Yeah, Strathern was done the same way. So I'm not exactly sure. But in terms of the speed bump, Mr. Baldry, though we have to continue patching with bitumen for the potholes and things like that, that speed bump should be taken care of.
But that's
If,
been like that for months.
so then that's something
And
that needs to
nothing's
be
been
taken.
done about it. I mentioned it to Public Works who were going around.
Well,
They said,
so-
oh, yes, we're going to do it. And
So,
then nothing happens.
so then you've now got the word to the right people. So we'll make sure that somebody takes a look at it and see what's going on with that. Thank you. Yeah. So let's find out, because if there's a smashed speed bump, that's not acceptable. That should be taken care of. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Adams, for stepping aside. Thank you.
My pleasure. Geoff Adams, 21 Campbell. This has maybe just been touched on a little bit in a different way, but there seems to be ongoing confusion between the grant process with how money can be allocated to different things and work that needs to be done. So could you maybe just give a municipal finance 101 course vis-a-vis a brief one, just in terms of how the grant applies to the Sports and Recreation Center, for example, versus a grant for other types of work, in the sense that they are sought for certain purposes and cannot be, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, intermingled?
Councillor
Yeah,
Dillon?
yeah.
Excuse me, Councillor Feeney, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that is correct. The particular grant that we have for the Recreation Center, which we call it is a Parfaire grant, was for recreation and sports. And so that money can't be diverted to anything else. And in fact, as the mayor has said before, anything that is considered a substantive change to that plan would require reapproval. On the other hand, we get grants. Actually, we get what we call a tech grant from the government every 3 years for our road work, and we put our priorities. They give us their priorities based on what's underneath, because their big thing is they don't want to lose water, and so then we make a decision, and usually it's they who decide which streets are going to get done, and that is only for that. And as we know, the road work, and as is any infrastructure work, extremely expensive. We do know that we're highly taxed. We do know that people pay a lot. And so we basically have been only moving forward with projects, be there for the recreation center or for our roads, when we're able to get a substantial amount from the government to offset that, so that taxpayers don't pay the full amount.
Thank you.
And a second question, if I can. There seems to be confusion that a loan of $39 million might be required to be taken out to build the rec center. So could you just maybe explain again very briefly what your expected loan amount would actually be, and how that differs from the $39 million?
Whatever. Yeah. Okay. Well, you're right. The works, including the professional fees, et cetera, at about $39,000. This is what it was, just $39 million. And from that, we've subtracted our allocated and unallocated funds of $3.2 million, and from that we've also subtracted the amounts of cash that have already been received as donations. That leaves us with an amount of $34 million, but that does not take into consideration the government grants of $12.5 million that we are getting. When we take those in, and if we minus those on the fundraising, then in fact the burden on taxpayers is going to be $17 million. But we have to take the loan out for the whole thing, because we can't start until we have the money, and we don't get the money till we start. So the federal grant, which is half of it, usually comes in, I think, after the start of the work,
Yeah.
and then the provincial is over 10 years, and then they pay us with interest at the going rate of interest. So whatever rate we're paying for our loan right then, they repay it at that interest. So I don't know if that clears it up, but
So
that's how the number comes down.
If I could I just want to add something as well. Because the loan bylaw is for $34 million, doesn't mean we go and take out a loan of $34 million. Means we're authorized to borrow up to $34 million. If the money comes in sooner, we borrow it as we're needing it, up to a maximum of $34 million. Okay?
And just quickly a comment, I'd just like to publicly thank Mayor, Council, Monsieur Gilbert, Ms. Toterin, Ms. DeStasio is not here tonight. I'd like to thank you all for all of the work that you obviously did, and people that are working with you here to secure the grant in the first place. As I mentioned to the mayor already, two things shocked me during the pandemic. One was the development of mRNA vaccines, and the second thing was Montreal-Ouest getting a $12.6 million grant. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Adams.
Evening, Council. Ian Robinson, 143 Valentine North. I'd just like to comment about and ask a question to Colleen Finney about the 3% interest rate. And so, Councillor Finney, I'm referring to an email that was sent by you on May 4th concerning the 3% interest rate. And as you said tonight, you said the 3% used is an estimated rate based on the past borrowing rates.
Yep.
Right. In order to have a loan bylaw, excuse me, we must include an estimated loan rate, as you said. Then you continue. The actual borrowing rate will not be known until the town goes out to borrow money.
Yep.
That's right. We cannot do this until the project has been approved to go forward as determined in the vote by the residents. The rates are normally renewed every 5 years, meaning that the rate will fluctuate over the life of the 40-year loan. So can you give us an idea today what the loan rates are?
So maybe I can answer that?
Yeah,
Can
okay.
we start that? So no, we can't give you what the future rates are going to be. That's why the government always goes on historical rates.
I'm not talking future rates. My question was very clear.
You just asked if you're going to know what our rates are going to be.
Today. Today. What's the loan rate today?
I have no idea. What do you know what it is today?
Are you telling me, excuse me, can I just ask a question? Are you telling me that you can't go to one of the 5 major banks or Desjardins who you borrow your money from and you can't get an idea what the loan rates are today?
Okay. What you don't understand, or I shouldn't say put this, we don't go to personally on our own
I know you do.
to these
I know.
banks.
The finance.
We go as part of a financing, as part of the Ministry of Finance and Ministry of Municipal Affairs.
I understand.
That way we can secure a rate, not what we're going to walk into the Royal Bank and get, because they go to financial institutions who of course are interested in securing government loans. These are loans that are secured partially by the provincial government and partially by us. So we always do get a very good loan rate. In the past several years, even if we had to pay a rate of 4% right now, how are you forgetting that we actually just paid 1.32% on a loan a couple of years ago, and we had several years where we paid less than 3%. So all we can say is, over the loan period, that is what historically it has been. That is what the government is willing to accept from us. Nobody knows the crystal ball when we go out what it's going to be, but we had to come out with a reasonable rate that was acceptable by the government. I understand it's not always acceptable by the residents because I don't think it's a different process. We're not getting the rates that you're getting when you walk into the Royal Bank and getting, and this is like this is preferred. So it's, so we don't know the rates right now, but we're basing it on what we have known, and that is perfectly acceptable to the government. That they could have said, no, we don't accept this. You're going to have to, put it up so that we find it reasonable. And, and if that was the case, that would have been the case, but that isn't.
All right, so all your assumptions are based on 3%. So my question goes to Councillor Yulin in your nice story, and it was very nice, by the way, your personal history. But my question goes concerning the monies you're using, 430, is it 400 and, how much is it? For the cost, $435 per year. So you're pretty clear on that. You're saying it's $435 per year times 5, you give the total 10 years is 4,000 something. There's no disclaimers, there's no ifs, there's no buts. So that's what it's going to be, correct?
It was a story, Mr. Robinson. And
you're
the
telling
story
me-
is illustrating the fact that in the realm of all possibilities,
A story? A
of
story
course.
of a $40 million project?
Listen,
We like to have
what
facts.
what I was saying to people and what I say now is that for me, a number around that amount is a perfectly reasonable, in fact, a good investment.
But you put it in writing.
Yes, I'll put it in writing again. I'll say it in public. I'm saying it on YouTube.
You sure?
So,
So
you know, for me,
you're
it's a
telling
good,
the people-
for me, it's a good investment.
Let her answer, please, sir. Thank you.
So the point was not to have every dollar and every cent accounted for.
It isn't?
No, it certainly wasn't, not in that article, no.
But isn't that the whole
Well,
point?
no, it actually wasn't.
Isn't that the point why we're here, to understand what it's going to cost?
The point of the article was to tell people that, in my view, it's a good investment to have a new rec center.
But you put actual numbers in here.
The same,
So-
the same numbers that the town has put out,
Right.
Mr. Robinson.
These are
okay?
public
It's
numbers.
the same numbers
I
that
didn't
we've been
make up
putting out.
numbers.
But you're
$436
going 5
per
years down
year
the line,
for
you're
the
going
average
10
house.
years down the line. Okay, you don't give any disclaimers about interest rates or cost overruns. You're just saying, hey, that's what it's going to cost.
That's right.
Okay, so you'll state your seat on that? If it goes over, that's...
Thank you, Mr. Robinson. She's answered
And
your
will
question.
you
Thank
run in my seat?
That's not the question. Yeah, maybe some of us would.
Good evening. My name is Nadav Agan, 59 Ainsley.
Can you repeat your name, sir? I'm sorry.
Nadav Agan, 59
Thank you.
Ainsley. First of all, I just want to make a quick comment about the process of the endeavor. I have a background in urban planning, and I've worked on many public-private endeavors, and this was pretty transparent and a job well done. I just want to echo the gentleman over there.
Thank you.
So I want to bring up the issue of traffic safety on Ainsley Road between Walsley and Fenwick. It's like a drag race out there, especially delivery trucks. It's kind of the main entry to this section, but it's a school zone. There's no speed limit signs facing west, going the whole way. And there's tons of kids that live on the street. They're playing hockey out now, and it's just a little bit of not a little bit, it's a big concern for myself, my family, and other parents who have families on the street as well. Want to know if we can do some sort of traffic calming measure, maybe even block off part of Ainsley, making it a one-way. That'll maybe also help with traffic in the sector, instead of all coming in from Ainsley. It could also be diverted to Easton. Otherwise, any traffic calming measures that you have available would be very welcome.
Councillor Small-Penfold, thank you for your
Sure.
question, sir.
Thank you for your question, Mr. Agan. If you'd be so kind as to send me an email with the specifics, and then we could look at it at our Community Safety Committee. And you have to remember that anytime we make a change in the town, we also have to be cognizant that usually it causes issues in other parts of the town. So what we're looking to do is kind of a global traffic study to better understand some of the changes that can be made, knowing that the Easton will eventually finish its project, that EXO will eventually finish some issues that are going on as well that might be causing some of the issues that you're experiencing presently. We are looking at a number of traffic calming and traffic safety measures on some of the crosswalks along Westminster and reviewing those. But please go ahead and send me an email with the specifics, and then the next Community Safety Committee will take place in June. I can bring it there, and then we'll discuss it, and then I'll get back to you.
Will do.
Okay, thank you.
I have a second question.
Sure, sorry, go ahead.
So my second question is regarding tree trimming. There needs to be some sort of oversight on tree trimming. Anyone can go hack their tree, not to death, because that doesn't directly kill the tree, but it causes severe structural imbalance, and it comes crashing down on your carport and your car and your family, and it's really dangerous.
Are you talking about street trees, or are you talking about private trees?
Private.
Okay. Well, there are some regulations about what you can and can't do in terms of trimming the tree. You're only supposed to be able to trim, I believe, 30% of it.
Right, but there's no oversight.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
No, but in addition to that, if I can add, oh yeah, that's right. You were talking about trimming. I'm sorry. It was 30%.
All right, thank you very much, sir. You do absolutely need a permit. Yeah.
It was my understanding that you only need a permit to cut a tree, but not for trimming a tree.
He's right.
You don't need to trim?
Not to trim.
Sorry, I apologize.
That's what
so
I was
I'm wondering
gonna
if
add, but you were not talking about cutting down
Yeah,
trees.
so I guess then my question is, can there be some permit instilled for just tree trimming, and that way it can, so that that way it can be monitored, and someone like me who has a backyard full of 7 or 8 beautiful large trees can't just decide, I don't like the leaves, so I'm just going to hack them till they all fall over and die and destroy my neighbor's property. And all that
Okay,
kind of
well,
stuff.
thank you for bringing that to our attention. We'll speak about it in council.
Thank you.
So just so, before we get to the, please step, it's 5, we're already past our limit, so we're gonna stop with the gentleman that's at the end over there. Go ahead, sir.
Hi, it's Tim O'Neill at 52 Westland. It's for Councillor Feeney, my question. We were talking about that number. It's been bounced around 27,318,000. Well, the increase of 6.6 million, thus causing the referendum that's going on and that. So the total loan request is 27.3 million. Somebody mentioned something about that being reduced by another number or something. My first question is 27.3 million the amount that the citizens, that the taxpayers are going to be expected to take on as far as this total project is concerned?
Right.
At this point.
Oh, okay, thank you for your question, and I understand it. Actually, the loan now is actually going to be 34. It's the 27 plus the 6. Okay.
Oh, okay.
That's the request for the loan, but as the mayor said, we don't. That gives us the authority to borrow all that amount. But initially, we're probably going to get the government, the federal money right away. We also have other monies for fundraising we're going to put towards it, and the provincial one we do get that over 10 years, but we also get the interest for that over 10 years. So really, the amount that we are thinking that taxpayers have to put out for is the 17 million. So it's the 34 million minus the 12.5 million minus the fundraising money.
So the net to the taxpayer is around $17 million.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Now
that's from whence we get the 436. You know?
That's right. Okay. And now that's amortized over 40 years. Is that right?
Yeah.
At a 3% average rate.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
I should say.
And that's 17 million. So you'd be looking at about $8.2 million in interest fees over the 40 years.
No, we're looking at 750, what was? Are you saying the overall, or are you talking annual?
Well, first of all, we have a global amount that the taxpayers would have to pay, right? That you just said, was it 17 million? In the end, if everything comes
in the
way it's
end,
supposed to?
over the space of the 40 years.
Right, so we're starting at 17 million day one,
Yeah.
and paying it, amortizing it over 40 years.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is, well, that's
At the end,
about
this-
8 million, 7 point something million dollars over 40 years. Did you say 700,000?
It's every year.
Yeah.
The loan cost is $753,000
per year.
per year
For how many years?
for 40 years.
Yeah.
So that's how much money? That's kind of.
That's what it is when you. It's like a
No,
mortgage.
I know
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But okay, so let me ask it a different way. Take the 17, amortize it with the 40 at 3%, the 17 because I was working with 27. What is that amount that over the 40 years that the taxpayers will have to pay? The 17 at 3% over 40 years.
Yes,
Fi-
the
final bill, kinda like when you-
750,000 a year average per year.
750,000 including, that's the principal and the
Yes.
interest? 750 times 40.
Yes. Yes.
Which is, I don't have a calculator here.
Well, I don't have it right here either, but yeah.
30 million.
17 million is the principal, 13 is the interest over the life of the loan.
Okay, so it's back to 30, even though it's 17, it's 30.
Well, like
the,
every
the interest over that 40 years ends up being about $12 million.
So 17, 29 point something million dollars. Okay. I just, what I'm seeing, we're always talking about the amount of money that we're going to get or ask the bank for that we're going to have to pay back. But no one ever seems to add in the amortization of a 40-year amount of interest, which is in millions and millions of dollars more. That's the point I was trying to make.
Right.
I was using a different figure at 27 because I wasn't aware of some of the grants and things that you were talking
Right.
about that were coming in. But what I'm finding, regardless if it's 27 or 17 to start, what I'm seeing is we're always talking about the same principal number, but we're also paying over 40 years amortization on that money. So as you said, it's
Yes.
coming to close
But-
to $30 million.
You know, it actually makes sense when you're talking about municipal infrastructure to amortize it over a great number of years, right? Because we're talking about a center that's going to last more than 40 years. So that cost is going to be shared by the people who are going to be there all those 40 years. And yes, it ends up being a certain amount of interest, like any mortgage, but, you know, it's you probably won't be paying it for 40 years. I'm not going to be paying it for 40 years. Everybody's going to be doing their chunk of it in that span, and it will be divided by the people who are going to have the use of this asset for more than 40 years.
It's interesting that you bring it up that way.
Please ask your last question, because it's not a debate. So ask the question, and we're going to move on.
That's fine. No, I'm good. I just wanted to make sure that we understand that it's not just the principal, but it's the amount over the 40 years that's
All right.
in the
Thank you.
millions of dollars. Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Robert Delorier, 71 Curzon. Mr. Masella, could you read the referendum question again?
I have it in English, and my French translation may not be good, Mr. Delorier. Is it okay if I just read you the English question?
No, it's pursuant to that, to the referendum question. The way I heard it earlier on this evening mentions a bylaw, mentions 6 million. It doesn't mention any context. It might be by the book, drawn up. It might be legal, but it is also misleading.
So if I could,
transparency.
Can I read you the question again?
Sure.
Do you approve bylaw 2023-003, authorizing an additional loan of $6,686,024 to complete the financing of the construction of a new sports and recreation center already approved by loan bylaw 2023-001 for a loan of $27,318,686?
Well, possibly you might want to contextualize that for a little more for the low information voters.
Unfortunately, Mr. Delorier, we're kind of bound, because it's a referendum process, we're bound by the words that we're using. I would have wanted to have included, to make sure that you understand that you're, going forward, that we're building this rec center. We're not allowed to include those things. That's why I've been making a point to keep telling people, when you're voting for this bylaw, you're voting for or against this project. Because it's a referendum, and the rules that what we're allowed to ask are fairly concise. That's the thing. I would have loved to have had more on there, saying, yes, it's all about this. And we may have posters there at the time to make sure people understand that. But on the question itself, we're kind of bound to this.
I understand that.
Okay, it's the referendum laws. It's not our rules. It's not even what we want. Believe me, I would have loved to have seen it even clearer than it is. But and that's why I keep reiterating: you're not voting just for the loan bylaw. You're voting for this project, for or against this project.
Well, that's just my question. Is people will quite understand that, despite the question.
But how many times have I said it over and over, Mr. Delorier? I've said it in a couple of council meetings. I said it in a couple of reports, a couple of Informer articles. Maybe, like I said, maybe we'll have some kind of a board there so people understand that as well. That, but the question itself, we're limited on what we're allowed to include in the official question.
Very well.
Thank you.
Okay, my name is Santina Malozzi. My question is, if you lose...
Can you just state your address, please, ma'am?
231 Percival.
Thank you, ma'am.
So, let's say the project doesn't go through. One of my neighbors asked, what do you do with that $5.2 million that you moved aside from our taxes? What happens to that money? I know part of it's already been spent. Okay, let's say it's 3.2.
There's still the money that we haven't spent is still surplus for the town. When we decide, if for whatever reason people make the mistake and this project doesn't go forward, we will need to spend the money to either bring down the arena, repair the pool, reconstruct the pool, something like that. But there will be something else that has to be developed, because like I said, the
But
status quo is not enough.
it will be spent on infrastructure.
It all depends what the next priorities are. It all depends, because then it's not a grant. It's money that we have. It's a different story what we decide to do. But we still have that problem over there. Problem doesn't go away.
And my second question is, can you please explain to everybody what is phase 2 and how much is that going to cost? Because it seems to me that this is not ending yet with this big recreational center. There's another part to it. So can you please explain to everybody what's that phase 2 and how much is that going to cost us?
Phase 2 hasn't been developed yet, so
You
one
were
of the
talking
things.
about it, but last meeting, at the end of the meeting, someone mentioned phase 2. So what is it?
Well, I don't remember speaking about it. I know that when I refer to phase 2, one of the things that we haven't spoken about is a walking track around the soccer field. So that would be part of a phase 2, but we haven't developed that yet. That's down the road. We haven't developed that. I have no idea what numbers are. We haven't put parameters on it. What can be included, what's not included. People have been asking us about a dog park over there. We haven't defined what phase 2 is, so it's hard for me to tell you how much it's going to cost. Phase 1 is putting up the building, putting up the pool, getting that part done. That's the major part.
Yeah, and all the costs of maintaining that and running that.
That's all.
Let's not forget that part.
No, and that's all on the website. All the operation costs are on the website.
Nice and neat. Thank you.
Thank you.
Santina Malazzi.
And the address?
231 Percival. Thank you, ma'am.
Hi, it's Michael Schinder, 35 East End. One of the earlier questions, there was discussion of the only vote consultation that we've had to date on this project. That was the consultation of about 2017. This was the only city-wide vote there has been to date. Now, if one looks at the results, it's clear that the project was voted no in that survey. So it was clearly a no if one looks at the results. People voted overwhelmingly no to a $200 increase of taxes, and they voted even higher against a $300 increase in taxes. So the only consultation, the vote was no. So I'm just curious why Councillor Feeney earlier this evening said that the vote was yes, when in fact a simple look at the results shows the vote was no.
2017, we didn't have those costs, and things have gone up substantially since. So we moved ahead, we moved forward with it. So, you know, we think people understand that over the course of those years, particularly since the pandemic, that prices have risen. We wish, honestly, they hadn't risen as much, and we tried to keep that down, but the only way to get to a price would be to move forward. So we had the yes, and we moved forward. Okay. Only after that, and after having another election and getting in it, only then did we start to see those prices more. So it's we could not have known that in
I'm not asking what you've known. I'm not asking what happened. I'm just asking the simple survey. It was a simple survey with 3 questions. The answer was to the questions no. There was an answer of yes to $100, but there was never any possibility or any from council saying it would be $100 or less. So the other figures of 200 and 300, it was no. But I'm not talking about what happened after. I'm talking about simply that survey that you said clearly about a half an hour ago that the town voted yes when the town voted no. Do you now? Will you state clearly that the town on that particular survey voted no?
No, the town voted yes, and we proceeded. The price has changed, and everybody has
vote yes to?
Everybody has the opportunity to vote yes or no right now.
Do you have a second question, Mr. Schinder, please? She's answered you. Second question, please.
After the completion of phase 1, will the remaining Hodgson's Field be grassed and ready to play soccer on?
Yes.
And will the basketball court be back where it was, in the state that it is, not a new court, but just the state?
I think it's been shifted a little bit, but the basketball court's there as well.
After phase 1, without any phase 2?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I can't. I'm sorry, sir. We have to move on to the online questions.
But we do have a question period
If
at the
it's
end.
about the agenda, you're more than welcome to ask it at the end. Absolutely. Okay, for online, first question comes from Andres Menicius, 260 Brock North. Question number 1, people presently expected costs, April 23 of the new sports center, as announced by Montreal-Ouest administration, are 39.2 million. What are the expenses that are still not included in that amount, and what are the true costs of these missing elements? Councillor Feeney?
I think we have all the costs have been included in this. It includes the professional fees and also the unforeseen. It doesn't include phase 2, as people said. So those costs are involved. They're all included in there. We don't expect anything extra from that.
And
it even includes, things inside the building.
And the second question from the same gentleman, who decides to put aside of our tax money when there are pressing current needs and then spend it on the project that is not the first priority of the majority of the taxpayers? I think you kind of answered that as well, Councillor Feeney, when we were talking about not using, like this money is not available to use for like street repairs that people have been mentioning. Okay, thank you very much for your question, Mr. Menicius. Next question comes from Harold Knowles, 256 Percival. Given the possibility of a no vote on the recreation center, has the town begun any planning for what will happen after? Isn't it time to prepare a set of options such as demolition, life extension, or reduced functionality, including the cost of each? So the answer is that will only happen, Mr. Knowles, if we go to a no, because that involves more money to be spent. Whether it means coming up for a plan with just a building to house the plumbing for the pool, whether it costs just the building to redo the pool, whether it costs the full demolition of just demolishing an arena. So those, if for whatever reason there's a no, that's when that next step will come.
You should know what the other side is. Okay, if you vote yes, all right, you get your rec center. But someone who votes no, they don't know what they're getting with their no.
Well, what they're getting basically is a lot of unknowns. And I wish I could tell you, Mr. Knowles, that I knew what the answer was, what it would cost to knock down the arena and build a new building. If I had to rough it and I've spoken to people, not Mr. Forlini, but I've spoken to other people, we're looking at about $8 million just to bring down the arena and build a little outhouse an outbuilding, to house the plumbing for the pool. That's what we're talking about, but further than that, we don't have a cost to just do a gymnasium, don't have any of those costs, because to do that requires architectural money, and we haven't spent the money for the architect to do that, okay? The architect can't tell you, oh yeah, Benny, if we just take the arena out of this $38 million project, it becomes a 31 or 25 or 28. That's not the way it works. They start from scratch. We're gonna have a bigger discussion, but we have to have that discussion. Yeah, that's a bigger discussion, Mr. Knowles. That's a bigger discussion. What do we do with our recreational facilities if this is a no? Okay?
But as the mayor said, it's not like a no is no money being spent. It's millions, and it's millions without a grant.
Next.
Yeah, but it'll still be less than what you're having.
Okay, and I still think
Okay, thank you. You've asked the question. I've answered the question online. Thank you. Scott Miller, 65 Brock North. The mayor has stated repeatedly that there is no plan B to the arena project endorsed unanimously by council, despite the opposition to the $39 million project by 599 residents who signed the register opposing the additional loan required. Will council now commit to establishing an ad hoc committee of residents to develop an alternative recreational facility with no arena so that we are better positioned to preserve the $12.5 million grant and salvage council's expenditures of well over $1 million of taxpayer money that would be lost if the referendum is negative? Unfortunately, Mr. Miller, if this referendum comes back as a no, pretty much any other project or any, as you refer to it as a plan B, pretty much kisses goodbye that $12.5 million. You would be starting from scratch again, going to reapply, making a new set of plans, and going to reapply to the government to have the grant again. Next question comes from, skip down, we answered those. Sharon McKechnie, 256 Brock Avenue North. Can the council explain why it won't share details of the plans for which the current activities, classes offered by the town will be moved to the rec center? Do the plans include offering new classes and activities in the new facility with current activities remaining in their current locations? Councillor Feeney?
Okay, thank you very much for your question, Sharon. First of all, yes, we do plan on offering new programs. We'll have a new facility, and that will allow us to offer new programs for all ages, baby, youth, teenager, young adult, seniors. So it will mean some new programs, so we'll be able to broaden the scope of the activities that we otherwise could not offer. And the plan is to centralize the activities so that they would be, the plan is to put them in the new facility with as long as it can handle them. If we're having too many activities, there's always that possibility that we could still have activities in the old facilities, but the plan is definitely to do a centralization of it and to have be able to offer a whole new range of things. And we don't,
Excuse me. Oh, I apologize. I'm sorry.
Well, they have. Thank you. Yeah, they have looked at it, and they feel that it is feasible to be offering them there. They've looked at some new programs. They've looked at what's offered in other municipalities too. So, as you know, our recreation department is very innovative. They do change their programming. They do often reviews. So if you're asking specifically what's going to be in somewhere at in the morning at the same time as the baby thing, I don't know that, but they are going to be. The plan is to have them centralized there. That's your question. The plan is to have them centralized there.
The plan is that most of the activities offered now are going to be in that space.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Sorry, it's just that it's kind of if there's the plan is at the moment that if you look at the recreation activities offered by the town, the classes and the stuff, they are going to be moving to the rec center.
Yes.
There's some programs that when we look at like the very young kids programs, like the stuff for the preschoolers, a lot of that's taking place in the community center now, and that may be wise to keep it there just because the park is right behind it. But again, that's not been set in stone yet. They're talking, can you show me that slide again? They're talking about 10 new programs on the adult side and 7 new programs on the youth side. What those programs are, I can't tell you for sure. I know that during the consultations, people were raving about pickleball and being able to have pick-up basketball and things like that. So those are the kind of things that will be there. Is it to say that the programs that are run, the kids programs over here are going to move over there? Not sure in particular, but the idea is to centralize the programs over there.
And it'll be long opening hours then.
Okay. Next question comes from Andrew Chapman. Hang on a second here. Andrew Chapman, 232 Percival. Regarding the PAFIR grant, the mayor indicated on February 27th that if we decided to not have a rink, then it's a brand new application. So it is not a question of going to negotiate with the government. The mayor since clarified that he has written statement from the government indicating that a proposal without a rink would be a major modification to the present proposal and would indeed need to be considered by the government. To provide more context for a possible request for the modification, can the mayor please share his request for information and the government's written reply? So yes, Mr. Chapman, we've already reached out to the person who sent us that letter to make sure that they are okay with us releasing that letter to the public. And once they get the okay for that, it will be released so that you can all see very clearly what was written to us. Next question comes from Asher Waldman, 167 Brock North. I will be 70 next year. If the town will guarantee that I'll make it to 110 and pay all the 40-year installments, I agree to your plan. Otherwise, I have 2 questions. The town calculation of $500 yearly additional tax is based on 3% interest. Since borrowing costs are almost 6%, would that amount not be more $1,000 per year per household? Second question, will the estimated cost of the maintenance and utilities to run the new facility? So to answer your first question, the town, right now, the bonds, if I'm not mistaken, are at, last numbers I saw were 4.5%. Again, that's where it stands today, but historically over it, it's 3%, Mr. Waldman. It's not 6%. And the estimated cost of maintenance and utilities, that's also on the website in the FAQ section, so you can look at it there. But as I said in my report, the idea is that the investments we make to run our recreational facilities now will be similar to the investment we make to run our recreational facilities afterwards, our recreational program, excuse me, because we have more expenses, but we have a lot more revenues. Next question comes from Sylvia Gervais, 164 Wolseley Avenue North. First question, why are renters permitted to vote on the city's referendum on the recreation center? They do not pay taxes. To put it very bluntly, Mrs. Gervais, all people who live in the town are eligible voters and they're all allowed to vote. Duplex owners, people who have revenue properties, they pass that taxes, their taxes are passed on to their rentees. So that's why they're permitted. That's the rules. Anybody who's a registered voter in the town, whether they're property owners or not, are allowed to vote. Mrs. Gervais, you asked a second question that I'm not going to read out here, but Councillor Maria Torres will contact you directly to answer that question. Next question comes from Judy Kennedy, 151 Strathern North. Does the existing cost of the project entail all the necessary equipment to run an ice skating arena, pool, gym, and offices, etc.? Is this a turnkey operation? Are the lockers, flooring, seating, air conditioning, heating, landscaping, fencing, etc. within the price quoted by the contractor, or will there be extra costs for these items? Councillor Feeney?
Yeah, thank you very much for your question, Judy. It is a turnkey operation. All the equipment you mentioned is included in the price. The only thing we think we may need to buy, we will need to buy is sound equipment because we figured we could get a better price on our own than putting this as part of the major project. But all the other is part of it. Hope that responds to your question.
Thank you very much, Councillor Feeney. And just to reply back to Mr. Waldman, for the last 5 years, our rates of interest were 2.9, 2.97%, 2.47%, 1.32%, and 4.74%. That's why the government's comfortable okaying a 3%. Next question comes from Linda Hammerschmidt, 226 Ballantyne North. What exactly is the question that is in the referendum vote June 18th, advance poll June 11th? Because it should not only ask if residents approve the additional $6 million loan, as it is misleading. The total amount of the entire loan we are being asked to pay, approximately $38 million, should be made clear in the question. 2, why isn't the town asking to increase the grant as $12 million was based on the original cost of 22? At 39, surely we should ask the government for more. As I said before, Ms. Hammerschmidt, the question says very clearly that it was $6 million in addition to the 27-point-something million that's already been approved. So yes, the total amount is there. In your second question, why isn't the town asking? Oh, the town has already asked. We've made an official request to the government to increase the PEFIR grant that they've given to us. We haven't heard back yet, but we're still hopeful. Next question comes from Philippe Bergeron, 23 Garden Road, Montreal-West. Will our councilmen and councilwomen be participating in the EAC's first garage sale, Garage Band Festival, June 3rd, 2023, rain date June 4th, by either holding a garage sale and or visiting the many local artists playing around town? Hope you can join the fun. Phil Bergeron. Councillor Yulin, please.
Sure. Well, thank you for your question, Phil. I will certainly be participating in both the garage sale and doing some shopping and listening to some music. And I hope everybody who's here tonight will do as well, and who's listening to us on YouTube. So thanks for your question.
Thank you very much. And last question from Marla Rappaport, 444 Westminster North. I would like to know why non-resident, non-taxpayers are allowed to vote in the referendum about the arena, sports, and community center. Same question, same answer I just gave before. The government says that all residents of a municipality are allowed to vote as long as they follow a certain set of rules, not just homeowners. So that takes care of question period. Yeah, sure. Councillor Small-Pennefather, go ahead.
I just wanted to add that I think it's merits repeating is the $436 figure is based on the average household, which is a little over $1 million. So if your house is valued closer to $2 million, you're going to double that. If your house is valued less than $1 million, you can deduct some money off that 436. So I think it's worth mentioning that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Small-Pennefather. We're moving on to contracts in the Town Clerk's Office. Amendment to Resolution 2020-0906 concerning the acceptance of a corporate guarantee and a rider to performance bond request from the Easton Development.
What, leaving now? It's getting exciting. Come on. Whereas the Town of Montreal-West, by contract dated October 30th, 2020, sold lot number 1292196 to the Easton Development LP, Easton. Whereas an essential element of this contract is that the purchaser has committed itself to build on the said lot a mixed-use building that shall meet the development goals of the town in keeping with the timeline defined in the contract. Whereas the purchaser, to this end, has agreed to provide the town with a corporate guarantee from Guerra Tedeschi Investments Incorporated, hereby known as Guerrera, and a performance bond from Travelers Canada Insurance Company, from which the town may benefit by way of rider. Whereas the content of these documents has been reviewed and the town is ready to accept them. Whereas Resolution 202-00929-006 provided that the Director General, Maître Raphael Destasio, is the town's representative authorized to sign the necessary documents with Guerrera and Easton, except the deed of sale itself, according to Resolution 202-01026-005. Whereas Maître Destasio is on maternity leave, the interim Director General must be authorized to sign the corporate guarantee and the rider by which the town is added as a beneficiary on the performance bond issued at the request of the contractor in favor of the purchaser. There's more. Therefore, I move that the town accept the terms of the corporate guarantee and the rider to the performance bond quoted in the preamble of this resolution. Secondly, that Ms. Valerina Maria Todoran, Interim Director General, be authorized to sign these documents on behalf of the town.
Thank you very much. Councillor Yulin, can I have a seconder, please?
I second that, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Feeney, all in favor, please.
Aye.
Next one, authorization to release the resolutory clause in the deed of sale by the Town of Montreal-West of lot 1292196, the Easton.
Whereas the purchaser of lot 1292196, the Easton Development LP, is bound to erect a mixed-use building on this property, which the town sold it for the sole purpose of developing this land. Whereas Section 17 of the deed of sale, dated October 30th, 2020, provides that the town may claim back the property if this commitment is not respected within the prescribed timeline. Whereas Section 17.3 adds, on the other hand, that the town shall release its right to this effect if the purchaser gives the town satisfactory evidence that is obtained from a Canadian chartered bank the necessary funding to complete the project. Whereas the town has communicated directly with the bank, which has confirmed that it intends to register a mortgage on lot 1292196, but asks that the resolutory clause be withdrawn first. Whereas a release from the town has been drafted upon the town's instructions. I move that 1, the Town of Montreal-West agree to release the resolutory clause on lot 1292196. 2, that Ms. Valentina Maria Todoran be authorized to sign the notarized release form on behalf of the town.
Thank you very much, Councillor Small-Pennefather. Can I have a seconder, please?
I second that.
Thank you, Councillor Yulin. All in favor, please.
Aye.
Thank you. Mandat à l'Union des municipalités de Québec pour un regroupement d'achat d'une couverture en assurance collective pour les employés et les élus municipaux. This is something where we're giving the UMQ the power to go out, the mandate, to go out and negotiate as part of a big group, and they've done this before. We've actually done this many times with them before. We get better prices when we go out as a large group. So this is to go out and get the collective insurance for us.
Oui, entendu que la Ville de Montréal-Ouest a reçu une proposition de l'Union des municipalités du Québec de former et son nom et au nom d'autres municipalités un regroupement pour les octroi d'un contrat d'assurance collective pour ses employés. Entendu que l'article 29.9.1 de la loi sur la cité et ville, RLRQ, ce-19, permettre à une municipalité de conclure avec le UMQ une entente ayant pour l'octroi d'un contrat d'assurance collectif et son nom. Entendu que la UMQ a conclu avec le cabinet de services financiers Mayette Actuaire Inc., ci-après Mayette, un contrat visant les services professionnels et consultations en assurance collective. Entendu que les honoraires du cabinet de services financiers Mayette s'élèvent à 0,65% du montant des primes d'assurance collective à être versé par la Ville de Montréal-Ouest, entendu que les frais de gestion de l'UMQ s'élèvent à 1,15% du montant des primes d'assurance collective à être versé par la Ville de Montréal-Ouest. En conséquence, je propose que la Ville de Montréal-Ouest confirme son adhésion au regroupement d'achat de l'UMQ pour l'octroi d'un contrat d'assurance collective pour les employés et les élus municipaux, et ce, pour une durée maximale de 5 ans, du 1er avril 2024 au 31 mars 2029. Que la Ville de Montréal-Ouest désigne le UMQ comme le mandataire et responsable de l'exécution de l'entente ayant pour but l'octroi d'un contrat d'assurance collective pour les employés et les élus municipaux. Que la Ville de Montréal-Ouest autorise le UMQ à accéder au dossier d'assurance collective de la municipalité détenu par son assureur, l'étude de manière conforme aux normes visant la protection des renseignements personnels et confidentiels. Que la Ville de Montréal-Ouest s'engage à payer à Mayette des honoraires représentant 0,65% du montant des primes d'assurance collective à être versées par la Ville de Montréal-Ouest. Que la Ville de Montréal-Ouest s'engage à payer UMQ des frais de gestion représentant 1,15% du montant des primes d'assurance collective à être versées par la Ville de Montréal-Ouest. Que la Ville de Montréal-Ouest s'engage à respecter les termes et les conditions des contrats d'assurance collective pour les employés et élus municipaux, à intervenir entre la Ville et l'adjudicataire suite à la conclusion du processus d'appel d'offres. Que la Ville de Montréal-Ouest s'engage à respecter les termes et les conditions des contrats visant les services professionnels de consultants et assurance collective, tels qu'octroyés par le UMQ suite à un appel d'offres public. Que la trésorière soit autorisée à signer au nom de la Ville de Montréal-Ouest tout document requis pour donner suite à la présentation, à la présente résolution, que cette dépense soit, et dernière, c'est que cette dépense soit imputée au poste budgétaire 0,2 trait d'union 2%. C'est ça? Oh, 2,81. Oh, OK. 2,81. Merci.
Merci, la conseillère Torres. If you could repeat that in English. No, just kidding.
Sure.
Can I have a seconder, please?
I'll read it in French again.
I second the motion, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Small-Pender. Father, all in favor, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Aye.
Administration and Finances, approval of disbursements for April 22nd to May 26th, 2023, please.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I move that the list of accounts payable from April 22nd to May 26, 2023, totaling $669,849.43, be approved and paid as listed.
Thank you very much. Councillor Feeney, can I have a seconder, please?
I second the motion, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. Councillor Small-Pender. Father, all in favor, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Delegation of powers for the month of May 2023.
I move to approve the report of the Director General concerning the exercise of powers delegated under bylaw number 2005-002 for the month of May 2023.
Thank you very much. Councillor Torres, can I have a seconder, please?
I second the motion, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Small-Pen, Father, all in favor, please.
Aye.
Thank you. Grant application for Remembrance Day.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I move that the town of Montreal-West apply for a community engagement grant to the Federal Department of Veteran Affairs through the Commemorative Partnership Program CPP and authorize its Director of Recreation and Cultural Services to sign any necessary documents for this purpose.
Thank you very much. Councillor Yulin, can I have a seconder, please?
Yes, I second that.
Thank you very much. Councillor Feeney, all in favor, please.
Aye.
Demande d'aide financière, Programme Prima.
This is because we are an age-friendly municipality with the designation. We are then able to apply for particular grants only for municipalities with such a designation. So we are going to apply for one. Attendu que la Ville a pris connaissance du guide de modalités d'application du programme d'infrastructure municipale pour les aînés, PRIMA, attendu que la Ville doit respecter toutes les modalités de ce guide qui s'appliquent à elle pour obtenir une aide financière suivant ledit programme et pour recevoir cette aide financière. En conséquence, je propose, numéro 1, que la Ville de Montréal-Ouest s'engage à respecter les modalités applicables du guide mentionné au préambule afin de pouvoir réaliser des projets dans le cadre de PRIMA. Deuxièmement, que la Ville de Montréal-Ouest s'engage à payer sa part des coûts admissibles et d'exploitation continue des projets visés. Et troisièmement, que la Ville s'engage à assumer tous les coûts non admissibles au programme, y compris tout dépassement de coûts et les directives de changement. Et finalement, que la directrice générale par intérim soit autorisée à signer la demande d'aide financière et à la présenter ainsi que tout autre document requis au nom de la Ville de Montréal-Ouest pour les fins de la présente résolution.
Merci. La conseillère Fini, je peux avoir l'appui, s'il vous plaît?
Oh, c'est moi. Je l'appuie.
Merci. La conseillère Yulin, tout en faveur, s'il vous plaît?
Oui.
Parfait, merci. Subsidy Agreement, Sports and Recreation Center, PAFIR. So this is just, the government has granted us the money. This is just us signing the contract with them, as it were. So if I could have somebody
Yes,
move the motion.
Mr. Mayor, so I move that the town of Montreal-West accept the terms and conditions of a subsidy agreement with the Ministère du Sport, du Loisir et du Plein Air under the Programme d'aide financière aux infrastructures récréatives et sportives for a grant in the amount of $12,556,727 intended for the construction of a new sports and recreation center. And secondly, that the town approve the signature of this agreement by the interim director general.
Thank you very much. Councillor Yunlin, can I have a seconder, please?
I second it.
Thank you. Councillor Torres, all in favor, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Number 11, Site Planning Projects and Architectural Integration Program, SPAIP.
I move to acknowledge receipt of the minutes of a meeting held by the Planning Advisory Committee, PAC, on May 24, 2023. To approve as presented under the SPAIP the following plans submitted to this meeting in accordance with the recommendations of the PAC as outlined in the minutes. 451 Brock North, construction of a garden shed in the backyard, addition of a window on the main facade on the second floor in the recent extension, modification of a window on the left lateral facade and the ground level, slight modifications to the extensions in terms of volume and dimensions. 55 Curzon, replacement of 3 windows. 117 Radcliffe, replacement of 1 window. 225 Wolseley North, replacement and addition of gutters, replacement of fascia and painting of soffits. 40 Valentine North, installation of a garden shed in the backyard. 1 Fenwick, replacement of the front door and 3 basement windows. 35 Westland, replacement of 1 basement window. 50 Brook South, replacement of shingles. 25 Valentine South, addition of a basement window in the new backyard, one-story extension. 20 Fenwick, replacement of the cladding material on the rear extension. 95 Easton, construction of a two-story extension in the back and addition of a window on the second floor in the existing house. To approve with conditions under the SPAIP, the following plans submitted to this meeting in accordance with the recommendations of the PAC as outlined in the minutes. 227 Westminster North, masonry work on the building and replacement of window sills. To defer the examination of the following plans to the next meeting of this council in accordance with the recommendations of the PAC as outlined in the minutes. 31 Valentine North, capping of the front landing, reconstruction of the front stairs, and replacement of railings. 75 Valentine North, replacement of the front window.
Thank you very much. Councillor Torres, can I have a seconder, please?
I second the motion, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Small-Pennefather, all in favor, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. We have 4 minor exemption requests, so I'm just going to ask Councillor Torres just to give us a summary of the 4 of them, and then we'll pass the motion separately.
Yes. On these 4 properties, the owners are requesting exemptions. Sometimes it's more than just one. 3 of the cases, which is 3 Westland, 227 Brook North, 70 Curson are for sales purposes. And one of them is, and then the 70 Nelson is an exception. They want to put a fence because they have a child with a mobility issue and they need to put a fence for safety issues. I'd like to say that these minor exemptions have been advertised in the newspapers, and so far we have not received any comments against it. So.
Okay. Thank you very much, Councillor Torres. So let's move the first one for 70 Curzon, please.
I move that the plans and requests submitted to the April 5th, 2023 meeting of the Planning Advisory Committee be approved in accordance with bylaws 2020-002 and G-18-0005 for the following minor exemptions from the schedule of uses and standards in effect under section 3.2.2 of the zoning bylaw regarding the movable located 70 Curzon in zone RB-5. 2. Normalize this front setback on the main building, which is 3.65 meters from the property line, while the minimum setback is 4.57 meters in that zone. The consequence being to reduce this requirement by 0.92 meter. Secondly, to normalize the rear setback of the main building, which is 3.75 meters from the property line, while the minimum setback is 6.1 meters in that zone. The consequence being to reduce this requirement by 2.35 meters.
Thank you very much. Councillor Torres, can I have a seconder, please?
I second the motion, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Small-Pennefather, all in favor, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Next one, the minor exemption request for 3 Westland.
That the plans and requests submitted to the April 19th, 2023 meeting of the Planning Advisory Committee be approved in accordance with bylaws 2020-002 and G-18-0005 under section 3.2.2, item 30 of section 4.1.10 and subparagraph B of paragraph 2 of section 4.2.20 of the zoning bylaw regarding the immovable located at 3 Westland in zone RA10. I move to normalize the front setback of the main building, which is 3.14 meters from the property line, while the minimum setback is 4.57 meters in that zone. The consequence being to reduce the requirement by 1.43 meters. Normalize the rear setback of an existing pool, which is of 1.9 meters instead of the minimum 2 meter required. The consequence being to reduce this requirement by 0.1 meter. Normalize the setback of an existing pool to the main building, which is of 1.16 meters instead of the minimum 1.5 meter required. The consequence being to reduce the requirement by 0.34 meter.
Thank you very much. Councillor Small-Pennefather, can I have a seconder, please?
I second it.
Thank you very much, Councillor Torres. All in favor, please.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Minor exemption request 70 Nelson.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I move that the plans and requests submitted to the April 19th, 2023 meeting of the Planning Advisory Committee be approved in accordance with bylaws 2020-002 and G18-0005 for the following minor exemption from paragraph 1 of section 4.6.3 of the zoning bylaw regarding the immovable located at 70 Nelson in zone RB4 to allow the installation of a fence in the front yard having a height of 1.83 meters, where the maximum height is 0.61 meters, the consequence being to exceed the limit by 1.22 meters.
Thank you, Councillor Feeney. Can I have a seconder, please?
I second that.
Thank you, Councillor Yulin. All in favor, please.
Aye.
Minor exemption request 227 Brock North.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I move that the plans and request submitted to the April 19th, 2023 meeting of the Planning Advisory Committee be approved in accordance with bylaws 2020-002 and G18-0005 for the following minor exemptions from the Schedule of Uses and Standards in effect under Section 3.2.2 of the zoning bylaw regarding an immovable located at 227 Brock North in zone RA-4 to normalize the front setback of the main building, which is of 3.84 meters instead of the minimum 4.57 meters required in that zone. The consequence being to reduce this requirement by 0.73 meters.
Thank you very much. Councillor Yulin, can I have a seconder, please?
I second it.
Thank you, Councillor Torres. All in favor, please.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Acceptation d'un projet de règlement et choix d'une date assemblée publique de consultation. Règlement modifiant le règlement de construction numéro 2009-010 afin de remplacer l'article 2.3.3 concernant le système de captage d'images ou de vision nocturne.
Oui, je propose d'approuver le projet de règlement modifiant les règlements de construction 2009-010 afin de remplacer l'article 2.3.3 concernant le système de captage d'images ou de vision nocturne. De convoquer une assemblée publique de consultation sur ce projet de règlement, laquelle aura lieu à l'Hôtel de Ville le 6 juillet 2023 à 18h.
Merci, la conseillère Torres. Je peux voir l'appui, s'il vous plaît?
Je l'appuie, Monsieur le maire.
Merci, la conseillère Small-Pen. Father, tout en faveur, s'il vous plaît.
Oui.
Oui.
Parfait, merci. This is just a deposit. We're accepting the deposit of a document, a bylaw modification that we want to make, basically to allow ring cameras and things like that people already have on their houses. Right now they're against the bylaw. And there will be a public consultation on July 6th. We go now to avis de motion, lecture et adoption de règlement. Avis de motion, je donne avis de motion dans la présentation à une prochaine séance de conseil d'un règlement intitulé Règlement modifiant le règlement de construction 2009-010 afin de remplacer l'article 2.3.3 concernant le système de captage d'images ou de vision nocturne. Le tel projet a été déposé au conseil et mis à la disposition de le public. So that's it. They're moving on to the second question period. Second question period is only for things that deal with that were on agenda items that were on the agenda this evening. We've received none online. I don't know if there's any questions from the gallery. Yes, ma'am.
Hi there, Joanna Dewey, 232 Percival. Just wanted to get a little more information about agenda item 9B.
Which one, ma'am?
9B, regarding the sale of the library lot and the details of the mixed-use guarantee that the Easton is being released from.
Yes.
What is that? What are the details of that mixed-use guarantee?
So basically, there was a clause that said if they didn't erect the building, we had the right to take it back.
Okay.
They've erected the building. The bank said, we want to give them the mortgage. We can't give them their mortgage until you take away the resolutory clause.
Okay.
They've guaranteed us they're going to give them the mortgage. We're taking away the clause. that allows them to go ahead and continue their financing.
Okay.
The building is up.
Okay.
So, yeah.
But what, I'm sorry, maybe I don't understand, but the mixed use, what?
Oh, mixed use because it's commercial downstairs. There's 4 commercial spaces downstairs,
Okay.
and it's residential above. That's always
Okay,
been like
that's
that.
all, okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
I'm Bob Cairns, 2 Fairfield Crescent. Some things have come up in the discussion tonight that have concerned me because I didn't realize what was happening. The very first speaker talked about turning the hockey rink 90 degrees, and then there was more talk about having as big a soccer field as there had been before. I'm not sure what's happening here. I was of the impression that some of the soccer field at least would be paved over for a parking lot to take the excess traffic that would be coming in to the arena 24/7, 365 days a year.
So
what's going to be happening with all that traffic?
So basically, Mr. Cairns, the arena has been rotated 90 degrees. It's being shifted further back, closer to the tracks where it is, and there will be an off-street parking lot right in front of that building. Okay, so there will be off-street parking right in front of that building on the furthest end away from where you guys are on Fairfield. The soccer field, now that runs parallel to to Bedbrook, is being converted perpendicular to that. So the soccer field is still there. There was never any question of paving over any of the soccer fields for any kind of parking. The parking is kind of basically in front of where the current arena is now. Okay.
So how many spaces would there be?
Do you remember what the number is for the spaces? Yeah, in the parking lot itself? 39 spaces off-street, plus whatever's on-street. Yeah. And the on-street, right now, the on-street parking that's there is actually not to code anymore. They don't want that perpendicular parking because they don't want people backing out of their spaces. So that'll be put back as proper parallel parking.
So there'll be fewer spots there.
There will be spots there, and there will be 39 off-street in front of the arena itself, in front of the building itself.
And you think that'll keep the cars off our streets?
Oh, sorry, it's 39 total. I'm sorry. I take that back. It's 39 total.
So that will keep the cars off our streets, all of these
Well, that's what we actually mandated a traffic study now, specifically to look at where the parking issues may arise. We're just waiting for that report to come in now. It's being undertaken by traffic engineers to see exactly what the results will be.
And what happens then?
I'm sorry?
And what happens then?
Then we'll make the accommodations where we need to. Then we'll make the accommodations where we need to.
Okay,
Thank you. That's it. If I could have somebody move to close the meeting, please.
Oui, Monsieur le Maire, je propose lever la séance.
Merci, la conseillère Yulin. Je peux voir l'appui, s'il vous plaît.
Oui, je l'appuie.
Merci, la conseillère Torres. Tout en faveur, s'il vous plaît.
Oui.